Tejas, we can go live.
Yeah, it's on live. योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि आबाहुपुरुषाकारं शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणं सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ।
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. It is through the alignment of the body that I discovered the alignment of my mind, self, and intelligence. BKS Iyengar. A very good evening and warm welcome to you all who have joined us on the second day of the week-long International Yoga Day celebration. As part of the celebration, we have practical sessions focusing on different forms in the morning and lecture series in the evening by eminent yoga acharyas. Our evening sessions focus on Ashtanga yoga. Yesterday, we got an understanding about the yamas and niyamas of Ashtanga. Today, we have Shree Sandipani Manur with us to talk about the session focusing on the third limb of Ashtanga, which is Asana. Shree Sandipani Manur is an accomplished and experienced yoga teacher, martial artist, and life coach, having taught over 50,000 hours of yoga and mentored hundreds of yoga teachers over 15 years. He is the co-founder and master teacher at Amrutha Bindu Yoga. His teachings of yoga, Western philosophy, and mysticism emphasize the application of yoga to everyday living. His tryst with movement art began at the age of 4. Through his younger years, he learned Kung Fu in the traditional style and was initiated into Oriental mysticism, that is Buddhism, Zen, Taoism. As his practice progressed, he participated in many international martial art tournaments, and the physical rigor of Kung Fu made him choose yoga as a healing complementary practice. He discovered that the proper body alignment and regular harmonious breathing leads to a complete sense of well-being in all of us, no matter what is happening outside. He slowly started getting curious about the full potential of yoga and explored different styles under many teachers. He has studied vinyasa krama, Ashtanga vinyasa, Iyengar yoga, Bihar School of Yoga under many renowned teachers and reputed institutions. The diversity of his learnings contribute to his rich understanding of the practice of yoga, and his spirited classes are a unique blend of technique, philosophy, and reflection. In 2014, he co-founded Amrutha Bindu Yoga as a boutique yoga studio to make a deep, lasting impact on the community we live in through the spiritual vehicle of yoga. Amrutha Bindu Yoga offers an array of yoga experiences such as group and personal classes, yoga courses, and workshops, personalized therapy programs, and life coaching and counseling. Before Sri Sandipani sir takes over, I would like to mention that towards the end of the session, we'll be enabling the chat box so that you can type your questions and sir will be happy to answer your questions. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. I don't know if you guys can see me. Um, Namaste. Well, yesterday the the presenter spoke about yamas and niyamas. I am going to speak about asanas, the third limb. Um, for those who don't have a context here, I'm sure that everybody has a context to the eight limbs of practice as told by Maharshi Patanjali. So the first and the second limb is yama and niyama. It focuses on social and personal practices. And the third is asanas. Right? Asana is a very popular term. I think it's the most famous term right now. So we are going to talk a little more about asanas today and see how or what, in what way it can be practiced. Right. So my experience in asana is about my first about 22 years now. First time I stepped into a yoga class was when I was 13. Um, it's a very small time to understand such a big practice. Right? So whatever I speak here is my experience today, and it can always be thought differently, right? It's just my experience with asanas. So now, why asanas? I have a small PPT here. Let me share that with you guys. Just give me a minute. Let me share the PPT. I don't know if you can see the PPT. So, so this is the structure, yama, niyama. The third is asana. So here we are going to talk about asana. So what is asana? Um, a lot of you would say maybe Tadasana or Parvatasana, or you would start naming the asanas. But it is very important to understand asana is just a posture. And we say asana, it is just a posture. In whatever way you are expressing yourself, can be called as asana. So now, why am I saying any expression can be called as an asana? Is because only if you join a prefix to your posture, it becomes of a certain category. Here, if you say yoga asana or a hatha yoga asana, rather, now this becomes a yoga posture or a hatha yoga posture. Otherwise, it is just an expression done through the physical body, right? So let's look at what Maharshi Patanjali had to say about asanas. I'll not bore you with the detailed stuff here, but just a little bit to build context. So, according to Maharshi Patanjali, according to his treatise Yoga Sutra, asana means stiram and sukham, right? Sthirata and sukhata, right? So to be established and to be comfortable is asana according to Patanjali Yoga Sutras. If you see here, Maharshi Patanjali is not talking about contorting your body and performing difficult postures. He is only talking about something which is comfortable and steady. Why? Because his idea of performing an asana was to sit in a meditative posture and practice the other limbs of yoga, right? Which is after asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and eventually samadhi, right? For that, you need a still body. So his idea was just a still body, and that is what he called as asana. If you see the next sutras, I'll not bore you with the sutras. Let us not go to the sutras. So let's just stick on to this. Something which is steady and comfortable is asana, according to Maharshi Patanjali. So, why is there so much focus on steadiness and comfortable feeling? If you see now, if you, let's say, you have a sprain in your ankle, your entire awareness, in one way or the other, is taken up by that part, which is the ankle. Now, if we understand Ashtanga Yoga, slowly our awareness should move beyond the body to different stages, right? Namely, our vital sheath, like apranas, and so on. The other stages, to the mind, to the experiences, stored experiences. So now, if our awareness is constantly surrounding the body, these stages, the further stages, would not happen. So, this is the idea of practicing a steady and comfortable pose, also called as asana, according to Maharshi Patanjali. Now, let's understand this a little more about how, if your awareness is constantly around the body, the future states would not happen, right? We already saw that a fractured ankle or a sprained ankle can take your awareness to it, and after that, from there, you would not be able to move forward until that is fixed. So now, why is it difficult to be comfortable You can lie down comfortably, you can sleep comfortably for 8 hours, and sometimes even more than that, 9 to 10 hours. So, what is this Stiram Sukham all about, right? So, to achieve a state of consciousness, you need to be able to sit in a posture. Um, Mostly, there are meditative sitting postures like the starting postures can be Sukhasana, Padmasana, Siddhasana. So all these postures, which helps you to sit for a long time without blocking the energy channels. But to do these postures, you need a kind of freeness in your body. The muscles has to be lengthened, the joints has to be flexible. So there are a lot of physiological problems that you had to, um, you know, move beyond to sit like this for a long time. So now we will move a little forward away from the Patanjali's idea of Maharishi Patanjali's idea of asana, little forward because maybe back in those days people were able to sit still, right? They had very less to do, and their daily practices would help in sitting, and their spine would be flexible. They would have their muscles would be relaxed, because generally in those days stress or if I have to say anything that can harm these qualities of the body was very less. But today we are in a different age where stress levels are quite high, and because of that, there are compulsive actions that we do, and those compulsive actions lead to certain level of tightness in the body, and it also causes a lot of disorders in the body, right? So with these disorders, it is very difficult. When I'm saying disorders, I'm talking about lifestyle disorders, because our lifestyle is very different from the lifestyle before, and therefore there are a lot of disorders, digestive issues, respiration issues, and a lot of other physiological disorders. And with these disorders, the mind does not allow, or rather you'd not be able to explore your consciousness completely, and your consciousness would always be around your body, right? You'd be more body conscious. I'm feeling I'm feeling hurt, I'm feeling my stomach is aching, or my blood circulation is not happening properly. All of these take you away from the further stages of yoga practice. So this is the reason why asanas are important, and asanas are prescribed way before the other five limbs of yoga practice. Now let's look at what is important in an asana. Now we know that over a period of time, all asanas has one job, that is to make you sit comfortably. So, what is required to sit comfortably? You need a flexible spine, right? So, spine is a lot of joints put together. So, how does it be flexible? The muscles around the joints are to be flexible. You need a strong core. You need a strong a core, and you need a good digestive system, because It has to, it has to digest the food properly so that metabolization is strong, and you need good blood flow into the limbs, right? So the two centers, which are the hip and the shoulders, should be free, and these are the main requirements of a asana. Now, from asanas of that day, right? If you see asanas, Patanjali Maharshi has not mentioned any asanas in Yoga Sutra, but the other texts, right, like Goraksha Shatakam and Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Hatha Ratnavali, and all of these Hatha Yoga texts which came later had a lot of asanas in it. And when I mean lot, there are documented 84 asanas, and maximum is around 84 asanas which are mentioned and spoken about, right? But in several texts there is mention of about 84 lakh asanas. So 84 lakh species and 84 lakh asanas are the mentions in different texts. So let me not move to the texts too much, so that I could cover the regular the syllabus completely. So what is the asanas of those days and what is the asanas of now, right? There were very less asanas those days, and uh, the asanas were mainly surrounded around your spine and your sitting meditative postures. And there was Sarvangasana and Shirshasana, a few of them, which, you know, uh, looked at the other part of asanas. Just give me a moment.
Request you to stay connected while Sir logs back in. Thank you. Sir, you're on mute. Yes, sir.
Make Sandip sir as a co-host. Allow him to unmute himself.
Yes, sir. You are a co-host now.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I'm terribly sorry. I tried to this one with the PowerPoint and then I don't know what happened. Right. So let's get back. We're talking about what is the difference between the asanas of then and asanas of now. As and when we moved forward, as and when our lifestyle kept changing, the kind of jobs that we did, to the kind of state of mind that we were in, what happened is the kind of asanas started changing. From a very basic set of template, it started evolving. Right, there are a lot of teachers who are responsible for a lot of new asanas, and the modern asanas, mostly the lineage of Krishnamacharya and his students, Patabi Joyce and Shree Iyengar. So these students were responsible also for a lot of the new modern era asanas. So now, how to practice an asana? What is the main principle? See, a lot of you have read books, read Hatha Yoga Pradipika or other books. So I'll not look at what is in the book, but let me share what is maybe in a coded format in the book, right? So, what is an asana? We understood it's a posture, it's a expression, and how do you perform it? What is the basic rule of an asana? Right? An asana is complete when you're completely conscious of that posture that you're in. Right? It can be anything. You can make your own asana. But if you're completely conscious of yourself, of the physical body that uh, in that posture, it becomes an asana. So it does not have to be a set template of asana that you need to follow. For example, if you just raise this hand and keep it raised, and you are aware of your legs, which are in whichever way you're sitting, and if you're aware of your back, if you're aware of your neck, if you're aware of your shoulders, in short, if you're aware of your entire body at that point of time, it becomes an asana, right? So this template of asanas that we already have is different movements of spine, right? The first and the most important part of an asana is to move the spine in different ways. So we have forward bends, we have backward bends, we have lateral bends, side bends, and we have inversions, and we have straight spine postures. So it's basically the manipulation of the spine to move the spine in different ways, so that any stored or any stagnant energy in your body is moved. So now that we understand that whatever you do, if you're completely aware, that is an asana, and if you're completely comfortable doing it, and you are, steady in doing it, that is an asana. So now we'll move to the templates. I told you that there are forward bends, backward bends, lateral bends, and all of that. So when you're performing any one of these, if you're completely aware of everything happening to your physical body, then it is called as an asana, right? So what are the um, rules to perform asanas, right? Are there any rules, regulations? Now Hatha Yoga Pradipika brings in a lot of understanding into this. It says the place that you are performing an asana, it has to be well ventilated. No, it does not say that. It says that it has to be quite small, and it has to be covered, so that those days, back in those days, there used to be a lot of insects and this one entering inside, and also air, right? Many of us, I don't know if we follow that, but air directly falling on your body is not a very good way to practice asana, because that takes your awareness out of your body and to the sensation of the air touching your body, right? Like this, there are some rules, right? So if there is ventilation, the ventilation can be a slightly higher, slightly above you. That makes it a very good place to practice yoga. And obviously, very common sense based understanding is, should you eat anything before yoga practice? Um, no, you should not eat completely or your stomach full. But if you are somebody who gets very hungry and that hunger by itself is not allowing you to practice, you may have a little bit of milk or something which can pacify your hunger at that point of time, and so that you can practice, right? And have it slightly before, like 30-40 minutes. Look at your look at the way that your body digests food, and have your meal based on that, so that it helps. And sleep, a lot of ideas about sleep and asana, right? How long should you sleep? When we are performing yoga asanas, should we sleep less? Again, I would say yoga is a very flexible practice. Sleep based on how much you need, sleep as much as you need, as much as your body requires. But this is a very tricky state to understand how much the body requires and how much of sensory indulgence or indulgence that you're looking for in sleep, right? So now, um, your sleep should make you fresh. Your sleep should make you relaxed at the end of the, at the, when you wake up from sleep, it should make you feel relaxed and fresh, right? Oversleeping does not make you feel that. If you wish, you could try this. Oversleeping makes you feel more tired, and undersleeping also makes you feel tired. So sleep is a extension of your day. Here, I mean to say the previous day. So, however exertion, how much ever you have exerted, how much ever tired you are, that much sleep you need to to get back. So that is how much sleep is required. And again, food, what kind of food is also spoken about a lot. Food that you can easily digest, because yoga practice, you cannot have your awareness at your at your stomach or your intestines, right? So if you eat a heavy meal, your awareness is mostly at the at your stomach or the intestines. And if you cannot digest your food, again, there's gas formed, and your awareness goes there. So look at the main component of practice. It is that your awareness should not be centered around your body all the time. It has to move away. You should feel, you should not constantly be looking at your body or be connected to your body. Your consciousness should not be completely connected to your body all the time, so that it can move forward to other stages. So overeating or even undereating, even undereating is not prescribed. So eat as much as you require. This takes some time for you uh, to work with it, and take you use your own discretion. Don't go by any book or any this one YouTuber on how you should eat. So see what suits you, and see in what intervals you need to eat to keep yourself strong and keep yourself healthy, right? So usually in all the scriptures, a balanced vegetarian meal is something that is prescribed. But if you are somebody who can eat non-veg and still not have your awareness to the mid centers or the lower centers, that is absolutely okay, right? And yeah, again, with asanas, you might see that sometime with your own self practice. If you try to put on your mat, you might get distracted with many things, right? There is music playing, you might want to go meet somebody, and there's so many distractions, and then asanas takes a back seat. So for these distractions, what has to be practiced is, as a daily practice, attachment to sensory gratifications has to be slowly reduced, right? You don't have to plunge into this. So maybe if you are so much attached to sugar at regular intervals, maybe cutting down one part of it is a good idea. Because see, the more you work with sensory gratification, the more you work by bringing down sensory gratification, the more easy it is for you to be determined in your practice. Here I'm talking about asana practice, but you can take it for any other practice, right? Any other practice, if you systematically bring down sensory indulgences, your practice will start getting better, right? So what else? These are the standard template. Again, let me open the keynote, share the screen. I hope you can see the screen. So um, one more thing before we move into what asanas does. Now, we spoke about food, we spoke about sleep. The other very important thing is that how much should you exert when you're practicing asanas, right? This is for somebody who's very deeply practicing asanas, or somebody who is systematically practicing it for the intended results. For somebody who's just practicing it for fitness, maybe this does not apply, right? But your exertion out of your asana time has to be very less, because if you exert too much, if you are somebody who has a very strong this one of practice, your muscles will be sore, there will be lactic acid buildup, and then these sorenesses will take your attention away to it, and it will take a long time for asana siddhi to happen, right? So asana siddhi is the word, the mastery over asanas. So exertion, less exertion. I don't know if you can see my screen. Vijaya, can you just show me a thumbs up if you can see the screen? Yes, thank you. Okay. So benefits of asana practice, we already spoke about it. I'm just wrapping it up. Um, Biomechanics, right? It under this one, the biomechanics, it frees up the spine and limbs. Frees up in the sense, the circulation, the blood circulation will be better, and the muscle is lengthened, and it is supple. Yeah, again, the elastic strength of muscles, and it promotes agility and mobility, right? The joints become more mobile, and you become more quick, agile. And that leads to efficiency in movement. So you see that there are various ways that you move your body in the asanas that we do, and these movements continuously, repeatedly done consciously, frees up and increases our mobility. And this also means that it helps us sit down for the other practices without too much difficulty, right? So, in terms of energy, right, it revitalizes organ systems. If you see, all postures are around the spine, and the organs are all situated around the spine. So, it revitalizes the organ systems. The organs connected along the spine is being constantly worked with, either compressed, lengthened, expanded. So it works with the organs and regulates hormones and neurotransmitters. Right? This is a very important part. How can a physical movement regulate hormone and neurotransmitter? The chemistry, it changes the chemistry of the body. Asanas done over a long period of time changes the chemistry of the body, and it regulates, the hormone controllers, which is the pituitary and hypothalamus. It works with that, and a proper discrimination is built there so that the hormones and neurotransmitters are released as per the requirement, right? And it balances the nervous system. This is a very important part of asana, which is also integral part of hatha yoga. It balances both the sides and both the nervous system, between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. It brings about a balance, and once the nervous system is balanced, a lot of your coordination is better, and body functions happen fast and quick. You become very sharp. So breath training, now with Corona, we have understood how much breath is important. And by practicing asanas, your response to certain things is changed and is controlled. And one's response to emotions and things that you see is controlled. Your breath is also controlled, and also by creating different kinds of pressures, you can bring about change in the respiratory system with asanas, right? You do a back bend, you're opening, you're creating more space for the lungs, and you do a forward bend, you're compressing certain parts you're forcing certain part of the lungs to get compressed and certain parts of the lungs to open, right? By this manipulation, you are also training the breath. um, right? So this is all what is happening outside, but inside what is happening is the prana, right? The prana is getting manipulated and balanced and getting ready for pranayama, which is the most essential part of asana practice, to get ready for pranayama. Now, what's happening mentally, right? You might have seen that just an asana class, if you just go for an asana class, practice, and come back, you feel fresh. You're already starting to make better choices. You're trying to eat healthy, and there are a lot of changes that is happening in your mind. And you're not I mean, certainly not completely, but you're bringing down the yelling and this one in your at your house. So all of these changes that you notice, how? Because as asana is also working with, we studied earlier, it's also regulating the hormones and neurotransmitters. It is changing mood, and it helps you build a discipline, because your body is saying, okay, I feel nice doing this, and over a period of time, if you practice the same thing, it turns into a discipline, and it helps tame the monkey mind. Okay, so this is something that I use very regularly in my teachings. The monkey mind is a distracted mind. We spoke about how asana brings down distractions. So, like that, when you practice, your ability to bring your mind back to the body is very high, and thereby you're constantly asana. When you're practicing an asana, it is not just when you are on a mat that it is working. It is also working when you're off the mat. You're trying to make adjustments, sit straight, keep your chest lifted. All of that you're trying to do all the time. So your mind is constantly returning to the body, and this is why it is not moving in different places without your knowledge. Otherwise, if you're standing for some time, if you will notice that your hip just goes to the side, you're leaning on one side because you're thinking about something else. But if your awareness is with your body, if your mind is pulled back to the body, then you will, this is how the monkey mind is tamed. Wonderful. So, this is something that I thought about in a short time without citing a lot of sutras, right? I hope this is helped, and okay, the next part is actually we thought we would open up for questions at about 8:15, but I would like to keep it open now so that I answer your questions and more discussion happens rather than me just going on about it.
Sure, sir. Um, Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful session. Your insight on how to overcome physiological problems to accomplish oneself in meditative postures, to explore the consciousness deeper, was truly informative. The breakdown of the benefits of asana practice was easy to understand and comprehend. Thank you so much for that. We'll enable the chat box now. You can enter your questions there, and then we'll move forward.
Okay, I have a question. So, uh, ultimately, ultimately, goal is spiritual enlightening. Do you think without doing asanas and pranayama, one can attain that? Uh, Preeti, yes, you can attend it. Um, if your awareness is not constantly around asana, or or around your body or around your breath, you can do that. See, the idea is, what is spiritual enlightening, right? This is something that we need to understand before going forward. Spiritual enlightening, or just enlightening, is the idea of understanding everything, right? Understanding everything, as in we call it as moksha, we call it as different things, right? So if this is what you're talking about, see, the first barrier here is in understanding the body by itself. So a lot of things has to become voluntary, especially your body and the breath has to become voluntary, or some kind of consciousness which has to be built around that, and only then you can move forward. But if you're already there, if your awareness is already not circled around your body or your breath, you can move to the higher stages without doing asanas. Asanas is required only when you're spending too much time with your body. your body is sick, you're having circulation issues, you're having physiological problems. Only then this is required, but if you're beyond that, it's not required.
So shall I read the questions out?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Neha asks, why do we always turn to the right side when coming out of Shavasana?
Yeah, so I have two answers for this. One is that we form a practice, right? We form a practice to do something, and then it becomes a training, nervous system training. And the other is that we are comfortable turning right. The heart is positioned on the top. When we turn to the right, the heart is positioned on the top, and the placement of the heart makes you turn to the right and come out very easy. Otherwise, if you turn to the left, you are a little more active, right? And suddenly moving from a state where you're so relaxed and to an active state is difficult. That's the reason we turn to the right and come up.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much for that answer. Shruti C asks, as a beginner, how can I discipline myself as to perform asanas? Is it like someday I will practice and then I won't?
Okay, Shruti, the answer to this is until you find motivation by yourself to practice, go to a teacher and practice. It's the best thing to do. If you're not finding motivation to practice by yourself, go to a teacher and practice. The other way is slightly difficult, but you can try that. Sit back and think why you want to practice asana. And if it is somehow connected with your final goal, right, of why you want to do asana, you will find the motivation by yourself. Otherwise, I would suggest to go to a teacher and practice. And after a while, it becomes a discipline. Your discipline automatically gets activated, and you would be able to practice by yourself.
Sure, sir. Thank you for that. Chandan asks, why doing asana is easy on one side and challenging on the other?
Right. This is about the patterns, Chandan. We have certain patterns, right? If I'm right-handed, I do certain things with my right hand continuously, and when I do this, this is also a bias that we have. Over a period of time, this is what you do when practicing asana. You start working with both the sides, and if you study under a very traditional teacher, over a period of time, the teacher will start asking you to write from your other hand, and start doing the things that you do with your active hand with your passive hand too. So it's just a pattern, and over a period of time with your practice, these two will get balanced, and that is when there is siddhi in hatha yoga. When both the sides are balanced, you will start seeing that your hatha yoga practice is moving forward very fast.
Thank you, sir. Pallavi Rao asks, what is the connection between different mudras and breathing techniques? Does it help?
Right. So mudras and breathing techniques, you know, does not come under this one of asanas. But let me answer this question. See, mudras again is an expression, right? An expression of your pranic body. So certain, prana moves. Okay, I think this is a good question for you to ask tomorrow, because I have to build a entirely different context for mudras. But the breathing techniques, yes, breath is always the connector between the body and the mind. And while performing asanas, if you're breathing very well, one is it acts as a, it acts as a fuel, because you need more oxygen when you're practicing. You need more oxygen to a localized place, and when you're breathing well, you get that amount of oxygen. And the second is that once your body is conscious, like you're holding your body in a conscious space and you're breathing right, automatically your mind starts stilling, right? Or your mind starts moving into a state of pratyahara. So that is the connection between the breathing techniques and asanas. Mudras are energy channels. I think tomorrow, or rather, yeah, tomorrow, Ragish would elaborate more on that. Please attend the session.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Atul Gore asks if Patanjali did not suggest any of the complicated asanas, just steady, a pleasant posture, why so many asanas are discovered?
Atul, at that point, right, at that point when Patanjali was there and when he propounded this, there was no need for these difficult asanas or many different asanas, because the pranic body back then was very strong, right? If you see 200, 300 years back, you don't have to go that long, but 200, 300 years back, if you see, our ancestors had very strong bodies and they could sit for so long doing their work, like my, not even 200, 300 years, my grandmother could sit for so long without moving, and she would do a lot of work sitting. So they did not require this many asanas. So now, because of our lifestyle, because of this one, we need these many asanas and variations. If you see, all asanas, all different asanas are variation of some basic asanas. So, and it is also, it can also be that, we like inventing. So we kept adding, we kept evolving the practice of asana so that we don't get bored.
Thank you, sir. Next, Saras asks, can you talk a little bit about breath pattern while performing asanas?
Saras, the best way to understand this is an asana has to be done with proper breathing. The moment your breath is not right, you're not able to breathe better, stop there, stay in that place, right? In a place where you're not entirely comfortable and entirely not entirely uncomfortable, right? Stay in that place and explore that place, that place where you can breathe well. Because if you're not breathing well and if you do a difficult asana, what happens is that your muscle does not get enough oxygen, and when it does not get enough oxygen, it starts to produce acids like lactic acid, and it becomes sore, and you may also have a strain. So asana has to be done only as long as you can breathe well. If you're not able to breathe well, stop. So that is the breath pattern, right? You don't have to breathe in a certain way to perform an asana. Yes, there are certain practices like Ashtanga vinyasa, which says, you have to do ujjayi breathing while practicing. But ujjayi breathing is only introduced in a later stage where you are already comfortable in doing these asanas. Only then the ujjayi breathing is introduced. So do not follow a breath system. Just breathe regularly, naturally. And if you feel that you're not able to, then I think you need to bring down, bring down the asana, the intensity
Thank
of.
you, sir. Sorry. Thank you, sir. Before we move ahead with the questions, we request you to fill a feedback and donation form that is shared in the chat box. We request you to donate us and help us organize more meaningful sessions like this. Let's continue with the questions. So there's a lot of appreciation that's pouring in. Thank you very much for the wonderful session by Apurva Ramchandra. Thank you very much, sir, says Shruti, when you answered her question. Uh, Preeti Desai asks, can Bhakti Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga go together?
Mm, yes, Preeti, it can. Because even in Bhakti Yoga, there is a lot of components of asana, and there is a lot of other components, right? If you see, Bhakti Yoga has yamas, niyamas in it. It has asana in it because you have to sit a certain way, you have to do things a certain way, and you have pranayama in it. So, yes, it can go together. Actually, it is a catalyst. One can become a catalyst to the other.
Okay, thank you, sir. Moving forward, Lakshmi asks, what is this giving away the practice all about? What exactly should I be thinking when I do this? Giving away in, she's put it in quotes.
Okay, giving
Yeah.
away the practice. Okay, this is something that we all follow. See, asana practice is not a very small practice. It is a very, very, very strong practice, creating a very strong energy field within us. This energy field, based on different bodies and different limitations, right? We may not be able to hold. I mean, I'm slightly moving into a magical place here because I didn't know what was the audience, but slightly moving into a energy based place here. I'm talking about energy. So there is a lot of energy created, and this much energy cannot be held by everybody. And if we understand the quality of energy, it can work very, very differently. So if you do a asana class, asana pranayama, whatever class you do, at the end of the class, by saying I will give away all of this energy that I created to the universe, and whatever is required, let it come to me. So when we say this, how much ever you require will come to you. And that is the best way to indulge in any, or perform any energy based practice. Because if you are holding more, or if you're generating less, it is not energy efficient, right? So that is
Sure.
the idea of giving away the practice to anybody who is in need. And it is also a form of yagna, right, that we perform through our body. So that is the idea.
Sure, sir. Thank you for that insightful answer. Uh, Preeti Desai asks, do you think we must hold our breaths during any asana?
Do you think we must hold our breath during any asana? I would not suggest it, Preeti, but there are the practice of bandhas that you do, and you do that in certain asanas. Yes, when it is the practice of bandhas, you can, but otherwise, if it is a general practice of asanas, I would suggest not to hold breath anywhere.
Okay, thank you, sir. There was one more question about is there an end to asana practice?
Is there an end to asana practice? Yes, there is. Once you no longer
Okay.
require to practice an asana voluntarily, it is just happening by itself.
Can you elaborate on that, sir?
Yeah, see, asana practice is required only until you are being taken away by, let's say, when you are constantly being troubled by your body. I will use the word troubled, right? So when you're no longer troubled by your body, when you sit down, you don't feel anything. You don't feel that your body is, taking your awareness at all. Then you no longer require it,
Okay.
right? And this is
Does that,
everybody is trying
sorry,
to achieve with your asana practice.
does that mean in the meditative postures, or is it any posture like even Trikonasana, or if we stay there for a long time, we have to be there like Stiram Sukham Asanam? Is that what you mean?
Absolutely. See, if you can do trikonasana so well that, in trikonasana you will never be troubled by your body at all. There is no stretch anywhere, there is no pull anywhere, and you're completely established in it. Then there is no requirement for you to do anything voluntarily. You can just be there, that's it. And when you're just being there, you're not doing anything. So I think that was the question. Is there an end to asana practice? Yes, once you no longer are troubled by your body at all. Do you think a lot of our seers, right? They did not bother themselves with asana practice at all because they could sit for a long time without being troubled by their body. So at that point of time, you don't need to practice asana. You can move forward, practicing pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, other stages.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Pragnya says wonderful explanation. Chandan says insightful session. There's another question from Guncha Mittal, who asks, why do we need to sit down on the mat for asana practice? Why can't we call daily life a practice? Example, walking straight, standing straight, sitting straight, back straight.
Yes, so this is where we use a premise, Guncha. If you are talking under the premise of yoga and yoga sadhana, right, then practicing asana is required. But if we are talking about asana out of the premise, yes, all of these, walking straight is an asana, but you're not comfortable there. There are many things changing, right? So, under the premise of yoga, when you're doing an asana, there should be very less things changing, very less things moving, so that your awareness moves to it, right? So, yes, these can be very mindful techniques, and this can also be called as an asana. But the premise, are you doing this to get rid of this awareness? I mean, get rid of this constant troubling by the body at all? If yes, then yes, this is also an asana.
Thank you, sir. Meda asks, can you tell us a bit about yoga and tantra with reference to asana?
Yoga and tantra. Right. So the understanding of a higher or understanding of consciousness through a means or through a practice by itself is called tantra, right? So hatha yoga is mostly a tantra based practice, where hatha yoga, when I say hatha yoga, the components of hatha yoga is asana, pranayama, and Shatkarma. So, asana practice by itself is a tantric practice, because by using something, by practicing something outside, you are bringing your awareness to that very state that you're trying to achieve. That is the conscious state that you're trying to achieve. You're using your asanas to, bring that awareness, and by that it is tantric. So it is a tantric understanding.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Preeti Desai asks, Sir, you said that post asana practice, body is sore. It's not good. So when we do an intense class, our body feels sore. Are we still learning? Are we still in the learning stage of a particular asana? Is it good? I think she means to ask if we are sore, is it fine? And does that mean that a particular that does that mean that we are still in the learning stage because our body is sore?
Preeti, a wonderful question that everybody should ask themselves, right? See, if if your body is getting sore quite often, that means that you're not breathing. This is the feedback, right? You're not breathing well, and if you're not breathing well, and you're practicing, right? There is a localized awareness to that part for a very long time. Now, if you look at the grander schemes of practicing asana, it is to get away from that awareness of the body, the constant nagging, localized awareness of the body, and become aware of the body so much that it no longer troubles you at all. So, continuously, if you are feeling sore in your yoga classes, then you might have to uh, ask your teacher, why is this happening, and work with it so that you're breathing well. And this asana practice then can be practiced for what it is intended to.
Thank you, sir. Pragnya asks, how do we decide whether to rest from practice and where to push ourselves, as that is inculcating discipline in the context of soreness and tiredness?
Yeah, so it is like a bank and money, right? Like money. You have money, you can make more money. So you have energy, you can create more energy. So this is a very, very tough space that everybody is in right now, because asana practice should not leave you tired, it should make you more energetic. But if it is leaving you tired, it is a feedback that something else is happening somewhere else. Either you're exerting yourself too much, or you're exerting too much outside the class, or you're exerting too much inside the class, or you're not sleeping well, or not, you're not eating well. There is something wrong happening. That's a feedback. So you need to understand this feedback and see, work more on. If you are, again, I'm telling you, the premise here is to, practice asana for the other practices, other deeper practices. So you need to check where the problem is happening, and you need to fix it. Overdoing asana practice is also not recommended. So a very good this one reminder that you can keep is, every time you practice asana, sit down for a while in the end and see if how long you can sit down, and you will understand how your practice is going, right? And this false
Sure, sir. Thank you.
discipline is is a very new idea,
Sure,
especially
sir.
in.
Thank you. We'll end. Sorry. Please go ahead, sir. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's just one question on the lighter side. Sandeep asks, do you feel sore while practicing, or is it just us?
When all the other parts of my life is not okay, even I feel sore when practicing guncha. Everybody does, but the goal is to keep that away, not to do too much, and keep it continuous, right? Because see, it's a very nice question actually. If you're not practicing regularly, that is when you will have all these aches and sores in this one. If you're practicing regularly, I think these do not exist, because you will You would have known how to breathe. You would have known how to this one. So
Sure, sir. We've come to an end of our questions. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your knowledge and answering the questions so patiently. Thank you very much for being with us. I want to let everyone know that tomorrow morning there is an interesting practical session coming up on Kundalini Yoga. Please join us at 7:45 a.m. Thank you very much.
I have
Everyone is raising. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
I was not making eye contact. I could not see the screen because I have a migraine from yesterday. I had too many sessions yesterday,
Oh,
and
okay.
migraine, and maybe I'm also a little slow in responding. So
No, that's fine. Thank you so much for still doing the session in spite of the migraine. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste. Nirakula is a yogashala which firmly believes in promoting the ancient yogic tradition in the strictest sense and in its entirety. All our courses, may it be short-termed or long-termed, have in them the essence of mantra, tantra and yantra, guided by the principles of Yoga Parampara put forth by the Maharishis like Patanjali, Swatmarama and others. Hence, at Nirakula, the courses have been formulated keeping in mind the vastness of yogic traditions. Our system is a rich blend of yoga, both as chikitsa and sadhana. We strive to use the principles of yoga to synchronize with nature as much to correct the imperfections of the body, breath, and mind. The following fundamental principles are firmly believed and practiced at Nirakula. Nurture excellent practitioners to carry forward the rich tradition of yoga into the future and to address the unending challenges facing humanity today. Create a strong urge amongst the practitioners to embrace the continuous cycle of physical, mental, and spiritual growth. A few uniqueness of our long-term programs like 200 hours and 300 hours teachers training programs are as follows. Our 200 hours teacher training course is integrated with 20 hours of spoken Sanskritam course. As part of the course, we provide participants an understanding of ancient Indian astronomy, history, and psychology. Our 300 hours teacher training course covers a plethora of subjects including Swara Yoga, Nada Yoga, Mantra Yoga, Yoga philosophy, and psychology, a teaching methodology based on ancient Indian scriptures. This program opens up the participants towards ideas least discussed in academics like marriage, parenting, nutritious food that strengthens spiritual journey. During this program, we take students out to different parts of India and help the participants to realize as to how yoga has been internalized in our culture for more than 5,000 documented years. We have teachers to teach pratyahara and dharana practically. Our graduation day is based purely on the principles of ancient Indian idea of convocation. Namaste.